Thank goodness. Oh, jeez. Not again. Not again. I'm hoping that I'm hoping that the entire thing recorded. I wanted it to be interactive as usual, but I'm not even sure if it even played again. I just don't understand. I just don't get it. Hi, Wendy. Hey, did you see? I mean, did it play? Hi. Hey, hi Trevor. Did the lecture play? Because when I got out of the lecture it said there was an error. So I'm all bent out of shape again. It said that it ended. It was over an hour. So I'm wondering at what point did it not play, or were you did hi. Hi, how are you? How are you? Is Wendy, Trevor do the right thing? It froze. Okay. At what point did it freeze? Do you know what point it froze, Trevor? Do you know at what point it froze? I may have to make these things a whole hell of a lot shorter. I'm gonna have to make it shorter, like maybe 10 or 15 minutes, just after white privilege. Oh my God! After white privilege. I had so much after that. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have to break it down into smaller piece parts. Okay. Yeah, because after white privilege, there was a lot more. There was diversity, inclusion, there was, oh, there was just so much. And then we got into the dog whistles, and I'm steady talking, just like before. Oh, just like before. Steady running my mouth. But I mean, now, um, what did you think about the euphemisms? Would any of you want to like to come up and discuss at least what we did get to see? Sound issues as well. Oh my God. Oh, I guess one day. Can you hear me now? If you can hear me, just I want to say throw one in the throw one in the chat if you can hear me. There was sound issues. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Okay, you can hear me now. Good. That's good. That's good. Okay, good. Yeah, you know what? I'm going to get this thing. I'm going to get it right because it's starting to piss me off. I'm thinking that what I might end up doing is just do a video of the lecture and then go live to discuss it after. I think I might do that. Yeah, I think I might do that. But what we got to hear was great. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I did get by the time I got to white privilege, I did it get to finish white privilege, cuz that one was important too. But there were so many there were a few others, and then of course there was the part about the dog whistles that yeah, there was that part about the dog whistles that I'm so sorry that nobody got to hear. I'm gonna get it right though. I'm gonna figure out a formula for these, and hopefully, hopefully I'll be able to get like something good, and take, it won't be that long, and then we can talk about it. So do you have any thoughts about Trevor? I believe you're from Britain. Are you from Britain? Oh, thank you. Um, Britain is, they have their own brand of nationalism and racism, for lack of a better way to describe it, in that country. Of course, South Africa had apartheid, um, but now the term racism is almost universal now. The sound issues were not great from that point. Uh, okay. And then it froze. Okay. Shucks. That really breaks. Oh, that just breaks my heart. Because I really did a lot to produce that lecture. So I do have the full lecture. I'm going to put it up, and then what I'll do is I'll set up a live where we can actually discuss it if you want to. Unless you want to do it here now. I mean, that would be great. I mean, share this. Oh, you're in the Canary Islands. Oh, okay. Hmm. When we call ourselves minority, it's not benefit. Exactly. Exactly. How did that make you feel? What were the connotations that you got out of or did you get any feeling out of oh, thank you, Wendy. Did you get any feeling from that, from those terms that we use so often? Minority, majority, we don't really talk about in terms of majority because that's like everything else is understood, you know. But there's a whole lot of reasons why they don't want to be called minority, not just numerically. They'd have you think that they're afraid of being in the minority in terms of numerical value, but that's not true, because if that was true, I want to hit you with this. If that was true, then why are we being governed now legislatively in a lot of the states and in the Congress of the United States by the minority uh, Republican Congress? They'll tell you quickly that the racists are much fewer than the majority of white people. They'll tell you that in a minute. But yet these same, people like DeSantis is has basically turned Florida into its own country. You know? Oh yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. I'm gonna get this. Truth be told, I have a BSIT. I have a Bachelor of Science in technology, information technology. And the girl used to build computers back in the day. Okay, I built my daughter her first computer. She called it my mommy made Panuter. And what is that? Okay. Don't let it break your heart, as it was great. And the interactions in the chat, brilliant. You got us wanting more. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. The reality that they are an actual minority drives them. Well, yeah, because they understand the term for what the term really means. They understand, and they don't want to be a minority. They're not so interested in the new. I mean, yeah, you got some who are thinking, "Oh, we're going to be outnumbered. We're going to be outnumbered." But I mean, if that was the case, if they were so concerned about being outnumbered, then I mean, look what they're doing. They're suppressing the vote. They're becoming very successful at suppressing the vote so that less people vote. And so when less of us vote who are supposed to be in the majority, who ends up running stuff? The numerical minority. So, you know, yeah. I thought that's why I chose that one first, because that's the one we use most often. And there are other terms we can use other than minority to describe ourselves. We don't have to describe ourselves as that at all. At all. I mean, because the numerical value goes away the minute that you add the ity. It becomes a noun, not an adjective to describe people, as in the number of people. It becomes the person itself. You get it? Would being outnumbered be such a bad thing? How would they know it's never happened? Um, I don't think that they care. I think that they already know that they are numerically outnumbered here in the United States. They already know that. They are numerically outnumbered, but they have been successful all these years, while um, I would say the liberal progressives types have been so busy doing the politically correct, walking on the eggshells, being messy. Mm, I wish you guys had heard that part. Oh, that was good. That was a good part. Oh, jeez. Oh, the diversity that it was turning into. Diversity was turning into something to be sad about. I mean, something that was a problem. Like diversity is a problem to these people. Anyway, I wish you had seen that part. Oh boy. Oh, I wish you had seen that. I mean, had heard that part. Let me see if I can get back to the diversity part. So you did get to hear about normal. You got to hear about normal, neutral, natural, and nude, though, right? And mainstream. All these words that we just take for granted. Traditional, conventional. Okay. Oh, okay. Hey, Riri. Riri, I messed up again. jeez. I do have a good one though that I'm going to put up. I'm going to get rid of those other two. And I even made a mistake. There's one that's supposed to be upcoming for tomorrow. Disregard that. That's this. I did learn how to do upcomings though. Look at this. And the reason why I'm disappearing and carrying on now is because my daughter bought me a blue screen. I'm using the one that the virtual screen. And it while it's okay, it's you should still have a screen behind you. And my daughter bought me this screen. It's in a nice round carry case. But when you open that dang thing up, it just explodes into this big, humongous thing. Now, I had it up, excuse me, last week. I had it up last week. However, I didn't want to keep it up because it's so big and so cumbersome. But I see where it really helped, and what I have in here now in my room, if you can see it, I don't know, you might be able to see I have a bamboo. Is it bamboo? It's kind of bamboo-y. Um, partition to hide my messy bedroom. And this is a picture of my living room. And I have where I keep my degrees and such. I call it my little vanity wall. Yeah. Yeah. So hey, well listen, I'm gonna see since I got you here, I'm gonna see if I can okay, there's the yeah, white privilege was a long one. Dag, that mean you missed people of color. Gosh, you missed people of color. Shut up. Oh, stop. Damn it. Would you stop it? Every time I move, this thing just makes me disappear. Okay. Anyway, you missed people of color. Dang. And you missed, and then after people of color was diversity. And after diversity was inclusion. Shucks. Yup. Yep. That was it. Oh, dag. You got all the way, you would have gotten all the way to you would have gotten all the way to the oh, okay. POC is where it messed up at. Okay. That might have been that might have been the StreamYard and YouTube conspiracy people saying, okay, we gonna shut her down now because I'm playing. We're gonna have to shut her down because she talking to she's getting to some real stuff. Oh, you did hear most of the POC? Okay, good. Okay. Dag. I don't know what. Oh, okay. Yeah, people of color. Listen, let me tell you a little story about people of color and the colored people in the United States. I may have said this already, but just in case for people that don't know. Back in the early 60s, during the civil rights movement, there was a simultaneous movement of Asian people who um, they actually wanted to be considered white. They didn't want to have to go to the black school. They were proponents of assimilation into white culture, into the whiteness culture, but they also had some issues of their own in terms of their own rights that they were fighting for. Now, back in the 60s and before the 60s, the term colored was specific to the black descendants of the enslavement. We were the colored people. And at that time, that was supposed to be the euphemism for, the other word that I used in this, the not so nice word that we kind of took a hankering, some of us took a hankering to and decided to make it friendly among us. But we were the only people, we were the specific people who were colored. Nobody else. Not Hispanics, not Latinos, not Latinas. And I separate that because Hispanics are just people who speak Spanish. This country has turned them into an ethnicity, but it is just a language difference. Okay, they speak Spanish, but then you have your Latinos and your Latinas, the people from South America and areas in those areas, Spanish speaking areas. Um, and nobody, not Native Americans, not indigenous people, nobody was colored but the Negro. And now today in 2023, what do we have? Everybody, everybody who ain't white. So there's still that separation. Because if we're going to call white a color, which they're saying that white is colorless, they don't want that to be determined to be a color. That's not a color. They don't consider that a color. So that still segregates them from all of the people of color. I hate that word or a. Or a. When I said everybody, everybody, everyone, is that what you mean? Yeah. But anyway, I'm not going to be on here for too long. I'm going to delete the other one and then put up the original one. And then perhaps we can talk. Maybe I'll get on again tomorrow and we can talk because I don't want to stand here too long because Della's coming on, I think, around 10ish or so. I don't want to miss Della. And yep. Yeah. I have one that's oh, okay. I have one called Oh No, scheduled for tomorrow. And that was a mistake. That was a mistake, just a plain mistake, you know. Oh, Jesus. Well, at least it had 31 views. Lord have mercy. I'm going to get it together, though. I just want you to know I'm going to get it together. Oh, the jur or the, oh, okay. Okay. Oh, the ER or the A. I got you. I got you. Right. Yeah, I don't like it either. You can't put lipstick on a pig. You really can't. All that actually that plays into the ideology. It's an acceptance. You're not really turning it into something. It okay. We got goats, we got chickens, we got cows, we got pigs. Back during the enslavement, you had Negroes or niggers. And niggers, it was just a term used by the Southerners because they did not know how to say Negro. That was that country language, the Negro, because they didn't know how to say Negro. That's all. And then it just morphed into what with the ER. And they talk about how we didn't never know how to talk and we didn't speak well, we weren't eloquent. Well, who did we learn the language from? Who did we learn the language from? We had our own languages when we came over. We were forced to forget them in favor of the muscle this and muscle that. And look at me disappearing every time I move. Stop disappearing. Yeah, there are words that we need to remove. Absolutely. Absolutely. Or in the interim, at least be able to identify them for what they are and deal with them accordingly. So now I know that when you hear certain terms, like what I think I'll do is I'll pick rather than trying to do this whole thing, I'm going to pick a couple of words, a couple of euphemisms. Wait a minute, what am I doing? Okay. I'm going to I'm going to pick a couple of euphemisms a week. I'll do that. And we can talk about those. Yeah. Yeah. You said nigga comes from the word and naga means king. Um, I think you mean niggus, Negus, because Negro is what we're talking about here. And Negro just means black in Spanish. And the Southerners didn't know how to say Negro because they had that Geechee language that they didn't know what they had to saying. So they ended up calling it, you know, they ended up calling it them Negroes. And Negroes turned into niggers. Okay, V says everybody should get a Black's Law Dictionary. Yeah, that would be good. And Riri said, and Webster's 1828. That would be good too. Yeah. What I was saying, the name that we were given was the same kind of name. See, because we were not considered human. We were considered chattel, like the goat and the cow and the hog and the steer and the horse, and we were the Negro. And the women were heifers, just like cows, or just like the cow heifers. The women were heifers, and the men were studs. Um, so that's how we were, that's how we were described. You know, so we were considered animals, and that was our name. That was what we were. We were not human. We were Negroes. That's what that was. Like, just like if we were cows or chickens. One of the things I struggled with while learning Spanish was the word Negro, pronounced Negro. Simply translates to the yeah, exactly. Yeah. And like I said, the Southerners did not know how to say it. And you know, they didn't know how to say it, so they called it what they wanted to call it because they were so country, so they called it Negro, and Negro turned into nigger, and they made it derogatory. They made it Derogatory. Okay. An item of property other than real estate. Chattel. Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah. So what I think I'll do, since I got you guys, what time is it? Oh, it's 10:08. Hold on a second, you guys, because I wanna see if okay, I wanna see if Della came on. No, okay, she's not on yet. So I wanna wait. I'm gonna do one. I'm gonna do well, let me see. I'm gonna do diversity. Yeah, I'm gonna do diversity. Okay, I'm gonna do diversity and inclusion, and those are the last two I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna read it. Okay, diversity is a term that can be considered a euphemism for racist color. Its use today is primarily a way to corral all people considered others into one stall, much like the term people of color places every non white person into one huge classification simply for having a skin color. It is a gentler word than other or different. And in the colorblind culture of the post racial era, it was a perfect word to describe people who were non white. Today, however, it has become a perfect word to include anyone who is non-white, LGBTQ plus, disabled, speaker, uh, speakers of English as a secondary language, or any other people discriminated against in this country. Isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting how diversity can be. Oh, she's taking a 2 week hiatus. Oh, okay, 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 okay. Then I'll just continue on if you don't mind. Um, put a one in the chat if you want to hear some more about diversity, because we hear it all the time, and diversity is a euphemism for different. So let's see. Can you want to put a one in the chat if you want to talk about if you want me to talk about diversity and inclusion as euphemisms? If you want to read those. If not, then we just kind of. Oh, okay, Trevor. There's a one from Trevor. Anybody else? Okay, Riri. Okay. All righty. All right. Okay. Well, that's two. Anybody else? Okay. Okay. Well, I guess I'll just go ahead and do that then. All right. Okay. One thing is clear, but not usually considered. Through diversity, one can be diverse and still be separate from white culture, meaning if white is colorless, invisible, it is certainly not among the diverse. The origins of the use of diverse can be traced back as far as Nehru from India and his politics of difference. Because Nehru was great. Nehru was a hot mess. Nehru was very he was a victim of colonialism and colorism. That's why India so they have their caste system is based on color. It's an economic caste structure based on color. So the darkest Indians are considered the lows, and then the white looking ones, they're the ones who make it. It's just so sad. Oh gosh, it's so sad how it. Anyway, the origins of the use of. Hold on. Yes, yes. Who opened the door? I think that's my grandson. The origins of the use of the word can be traced far back as Nehru, but in the United States, credit appears to be fixed on a man by the name of Louis Brown Griggs, a self described diversity trainer who coined the terms valuing diversity when he began a series of training programs through his company Griggs Productions. It is important to note that Griggs' biography reads like an elitist handbook. Descended from that, this is this guy. He was descended from the Mayflower Pilgrims, ancestors who co created two states, Minnesota and Washington, and a grandfather who was the author of President Truman's Marshall Plan. His family were personal friends of the Bushes and Governor Bill Scranton, and by his own admission, he considered himself a member of the white elite. His fascinating bio revealed an elitist worldview. Quote, as a child, I learned in my family that we were all under one God. I also got the very clear message. See, it's taught early. It's taught early from the cradle that here on earth in the USA, we are the chosen ones. As part of the Calvinist heritage that imbued the Puritans that settled in America, I was brought up to believe that my wealth, my class, my race, my culture, my intellect, education, looks, etc., were a sure sign of grace from God. However, it was incumbent upon me as a privileged, now you remember that term, privileged leader in society to have the policy of noblesse oblige. That is, I believe that it means a noble heart for, and beneficence for an obligation to understand or not understand, but I got this privilege, but just like what most people who have unearned privilege behave as though I must do what I can for the lowly, poor inferiors. His heritage read like the gentry of white generations past, replete with grandiose exclusiveness and exceptionalism that bespoke the superiority of his white skin. In 1977, however, a near death experience offered him an epiphany on the very nature of his worldview, rendering him no longer a captive of his former beliefs, except to the extent of his policy of oblige, his obligatory feeling, without that haughty part, So he is the person who basically coined diversity, valuing diversity. But the thing that really gets me is that in 2019, diversity training raked in up to $8 billion a year from U.S. corporations, although there were, it was indicated that not all of those trainings had a significant impact on changing workplace behaviors and could even fail to increase inclusivity at work. Think about that. Hi. Hi, everybody. Hi, Miss Kesha. Ms. Kesha. Hi. It is evident that diversity training, for what it's worth, is an extremely profitable attempt to teach white people how to behave in a non racialized, non bigoted, and non biased fashion in the areas of education and employment where integration is the most prevalent. However, the term itself elevates whiteness by placing the term diverse in a category all its own below whiteness as something whiteness must tolerate, whether they like it or not. In a New Yorker article by Hua Hsu entitled "The Year in Diversity Fatigue," and this kind of cracked me up. The Year in Diversity Fatigue. He discussed the 1990s as a period within corporations and newsrooms where people were experiencing what he coined diversity fatigue. That could be, those two words together can be considered a euphemism for tired of tired of others. Tired of others. Diversity fatigue. Tired of others. Okay. You're not going to say, I'm tired of these others. You're going to say, I'm suffering from diversity fatigue. Or tired of tired of walking on eggshells in relation to behavior in the workplace relative to their interactions with diverse coworkers. According to Hsu, employers had become weary. Employers had become weary of being tasked, forced. That's another euphemism. Tasked. This is hard work. Rather than full equality, equity, opportunity, and justice, they did not want to have to do that. They were experiencing fatigue. And they were tired of walking on eggshells in relation to behavior in the workplace relative to their interactions with diverse co-workers. Diverse. You know what diverse means. Come on. I mean, of course, there are other people who are, hey, Rock Nation, there are other people who are um, considered diverse now, you know, different. There's a big umbrella now. But I'm here to tell you at the end of the day, they don't want no black people. They might tolerate the occasional disabled, okay? But they ain't trying to tolerate no damn black people, okay? Yep. So they're tasked with realizing the goals set out for diverse environments. They're tired of having to realize the goals set out for diverse environments, meaning you got all these black people working in this company. And the goal is to work well together. And they're saying we are tired. We are fatigued. We are fatigued by this, okay? This is the part that really kind of got me. Quoting writers Pro Bronson and Ashley Merriman in 2006, Hasu explained how they felt being afraid to offend and how part of the problem with diversity, I mean, since when has being different than somebody else in terms of this color of your skin or your sexual orientation, since when has that been a problem? And why would you be afraid to offend if you're treating the person as a human being and not someone that you feel is inferior to you? Why would you even be afraid to offend? It's because in your everyday non-working life, you offending all over the place. That's why. So, and how part of the problem with diversity was its function as a necessary and, quote, compulsory feature of American life, at least in their liberal circles. Compulsory, being forced. That's another word for being forced. Okay? Mm-hmm. That's another word for being forced. So, that he went on to describe their view. People are willing to be tolerant, but past a certain point, it feels like being ordered to eat the peas. Now, in the lecture, I was saying, I can't stand peas. I really just do not like peas. Okay, so people are willing to be tolerant. Here's another word, and I'm going to be doing a little something on that too for you guys. There's tolerate and there's tolerated. Where do you fall racially? For one, do not want to be tolerated. F you if you feel like you are tolerating me. You know, and this is anybody, but since we're talking about race, racist color, racist character, racism, and white supremacy, and this word diversity, and how they, as early as the 1990s, they were tired of having to be politically correct, as they called it, and past a certain point it feels like being ordered to eat the peas. So basically, what they were saying was at a certain point, you're being forced, ordered to like something you don't like, or deal with something that you don't like, or be around somebody that you don't like. According to Hasu, diversity, the term, and what it implied, what it was defined as at the time, which was black, had become worn and misapplied and considered its use today as messy Diversity was worn and misapplied and considered messy. Being taught how to treat people equitably, equally, with the same opportunities and justice was messy as far as they were concerned and worn and misapplied. So apparently it wasn't supposed to it shouldn't apply to everything that they were applying it to. Like we shouldn't have to deal with the gay man or woman or transgender person. We shouldn't have to deal with the black person or the indigenous person. But I will say that the black person is the vanguard from which all of these other neutral. Now I know you did get to see neutral, didn't you? Normal, neutral, natural. It was the fight of black people in particular for equity, equality, opportunity, and justice that gave rise to the civil rights movement that they did not specifically say for black people. They made it neutral. But anyway, diversity has found its way into the U.S. English vernacular of whiteness, keeping itself separate from white people while at the same time managing to include everything non white. I know, right? Right. Messy. Heaven forbid they should ever, okay? Heaven forbid. It's just too messy. It's worn out. It's worn. What was it? What did you say? Worn and misapplied. What does misapplied mean? It means that it should not apply. It's mistakenly applied to certain individuals, because I mean that's what diversity is all about. It's about um people. So how is it being misapplied? What people don't belong in that camp, in the diversity bag? Like, I guess we can deal with this and this and this, but we just can't deal with them niggers. We just can't. It's too messy. It's just too messy. Messy. Now let's get to inclusion, and then I'm gonna bid you guys farewell, because I know my husband is ready to come up here and watch some TV in the bed, because I am in my bedroom. Quiet as kept. Inclusion is another one of those words used to connote a sense of camaraderie among the races, or at the very least, a hope for camaraderie. What I do, disappearing, and I can't think. The definition, which best describes inclusion and its context. Now, you remember we talked about the three C's. Oh, excuse me. Comprehension, context, and connotation. You gotta use those tools. You gotta keep them uppermost in your head. I hope you all got a chance to hear about them and their importance as tools, um, when you navigate, as you navigate the this racialized um, state we're in, and I mean the state of being that we find ourselves. You know what? That's another whole story that we're going to get into. Okay? Because what you're saying is actually very unrealistic in terms of humanity, human beings. We're no different as humans as any other group of people who are grouped together and fight among themselves. The difference with us is the expectation that we give ourselves, which is almost Herculean in the sense that we create for ourselves unrealistic expectations that we can't meet. And all that does is force us to internalize even further our feelings of inferiority. We do that in terms of unity, and we do this in terms of what they call the black on black crime. And we'll get into that. That's going to be another whole thing because I have an essay on that one. I'm going to start doing some of my essays that I do. They're already on my website, but I'm going to do one. I'm going to start doing some live essays, and then we can discuss those essays. Yeah, we can discuss that. Yeah, we're no different, Ms. We're no different than any other group of people who are put together. I mean, because if you really, I did an interview with Tiara Latrice on that very subject, and if you get an opportunity, shout out to her, shout out to Trees, shout out to just all the people. Just I follow so many content creators, some of which do not like each other, but I follow them nonetheless because um, I think that we all have something to contribute. But do definitely go visit Tierra Latrice and that interview that I did with her on that, and it'll give you a pretty good it'll give you a good perspective on because I do read that essay. I did read that essay on there. Um, we give ourselves uh, the expectations we put upon ourselves are unrealistic. Okay. For example, when you see all of those mass shootings, what do you think about when you see those mass shootings? When oh, good. Good. Yep. When say so, for example, when you look at mass shootings, where you've got this white person who has taken an AK-47 and or an AR-15 and has shot up an entire school of children or a church. What do you think about then, or synagogue, or just shot up a venue? What do you think about? Do you think that that is white on white crime? Does that come to mind? It doesn't even roll off the tongue. Well, it's because there's no expectation given for that. But we expect. Um, yeah, I'm gonna read that. Next week. Next week at 8 o'clock. Next Saturday, 8 o'clock. I'm gonna read a couple of essays that deal with how we treat ourselves in terms of color, race as color. Because it's interesting. It's very interesting. Race as color and race as character are two very, very interesting subjects. Within race as color, you'll find colorism that's contained in there. And it all comes from white supremacy. Even the way that we treat each other in terms of our color, our different colors in the spectrum of color. Um, I talk about that on that interview with Latrice as well. that it's not even about color. Color is a tool. Color is a tool that is used. I said, and I used the analogy of um, a hammer. What did I say? I think I said something like, if racism is the house, then color is a hammer. Or, race is to a house as color is to the hammer. It is a tool. What's really being used is value. That is the key word in everything. It is the value that is expressed through the use of that tool. And what they're really doing is they're just negating your value and your worth as a human being. And that has a root, the ideology of white supremacy, supremacy versus inferiority, you know? So even the way that we treat each other is just internalized white supremacist um, internalization of generations old white supremacist indoctrination. Yeah. Oh yeah. You know, yes. The media, the I don't care what anybody says. Music, the media, all mediums, whether it is through music or through the visual arts, it screws around with your head, and that's what it's designed to do. That's what it's designed to do. But that's another whole subject. I want to try to stay within the context of inclusion. So it's another one of those words used to connote a sense of camaraderie among the races, or at least a hope for camaraderie. The definition which best describes inclusion and its context as a euphemism today is one provided by Oxford Dictionary. The practice or policy of providing equal access to opportunities and resources for people who might otherwise be what? Excluded or marginalized, such as those who have physical or mental disabilities and members of other minority groups. Um, do you hear the word minority group in that? Do you think that they're talking in terms of numbers of people? Or is it perhaps what I said, that when you add the ITY at the end, it becomes a person, a noun, and we all went to school and learned that a noun is a person, place, a thing. So minority groups are what? I mean, we can actually attach a little numeric value to it. Less than, inferior to, basically. They're saying other minority groups. You know what they mean. Diversity and inclusion are partner words, meaning one will generally find, yep, lesser. Meaning one will generally find both used in the same phrase or sentence. Conceptually, they follow the notion of allowing others who are non white or otherwise discriminated against into white spaces. The connotation, therefore, remember, connotation is how it feels. So the feeling of the word inclusion, therefore, is in the acts of allowance and tolerance by people of others into these white spaces. In left leaning, progressive, polite white society, inclusion is expected and even required. But as usual, only in the abstract, as many do not practice actual inclusion outside of employment and education. At the same time, inclusion is disparaged and considered part of the post racial colorblind era of political correctness by right wing conservatives. In fact, it is discouraged fervently by those who are typically racist and white supremacists. And understood and understand its euphemistically designed, non transparent way of saying integration. See, here's another little kicker. For those of us who, like me, and I say this every time I'm on a darn live, yeah, I'm going to be 70 at the end of this year. So I was around during that time. Okay. I can remember getting on a ferry, going to Virginia. This was before the Chesapeake Bay Bridge Tunnel was built. We used to take a ferry over to Norfolk, Virginia. And on that ferry, it had the whites only section and the coloreds only section, the coloreds only bathroom, the coloreds only fountain. We were not allowed at on the top deck. Um, we were only allowed. It was like you had a deck where you could look out, but it wasn't the top deck where it just looked so pretty. You know what I mean? I did have an opportunity after the 60s, in about 60, in 64, I think, or 65, maybe 65 or 66, where I was able to go up on the top deck. Yep. But I digress. um, I was saying that to say that what happened was segregation became racism. When we were fighting for equality, equity, opportunity, and justice, and what we got was an economic apportionment of opportunity in the areas of employment and education and housing. And integration was the opposite. It was the means into which we were given opportunity, basically to share spaces and places with white people. Now, I don't know what they thought was supposed to happen as a result of integration. Maybe they thought that they were going, the good white people would do what they were supposed to do. No, we ended up having to make laws and have the EEOC created, to sue them for discrimination because they still were doing all of the things that they were doing. Okay. They were still doing all that stuff. Took them, I mean, really. And they still do it now. The only difference now is that we black people, a lot of us will probably, because of race as character now, we will think that it's anything but um, racism as a reason why we didn't get that job, we didn't get that promotion, we didn't get that raise, we didn't get accepted to the school. You know, we'll say it's something lacking in us, something we didn't do, even though we know we got to jump higher, run faster. We have to traverse all of the uh, things in our way, and we still will not attribute it to race. I don't know how many times I've heard people say, I'm not trying to say it was about race. Yeah, you better. You better. I think it's time we start attributing things to race again. Okay? Because it never went away, people. Okay? And here, all they did was change inter all they did was exchange inclusion for integration. So, in essence, inclusion literally means integration into white spaces and places without using the word integration, which saw enormous pushback in the 1960s and 70s and was considered derogatory among many white people at the time. So that's all inclusion is. Inclusion is the 21st century integration, child. Because we never really achieved integration. And we weren't going to assimilate like the Italians did and the Irish did and I dare say most of the Asians did. Yep. So that be that. For now, like I said, I'm going to um what did I say? Oh, yeah. Let me make a note of this because my brain I even forgot all about it. Next Saturday, class, all my light bulbs. I got wait. We got it. We have a name for our community. We are light bulbs because we are the light of the world. We are the light of the world. We are so the lights on and everybody's home. And I am your what did Riri call me? I think was it you, Ree, that called me the intellectual lioness? Did you? Is that what you called me? Yep. Yeah. Let's find that light bulb and put that light bulb in there because that's what we are. We the light bulbs. So light bulb, light bulb group. Next week we are going to talk about color and colorism, colorism. Um, and why we internalize. Why we internalize. And maybe even what we internalize. Okay? And maybe have some questions. Oh, I see all the light bulbs. Oh, that makes that warms my heart. That really warms my heart. It really does. It really does. And I like the class size. Class size is good. We got about like 9 people. I mean, I'm not in. It doesn't have to be 50 million people in here. Because it can get. Classrooms. The size of the classroom determines what is going to be learned. You know what I mean? So I don't mind that the classroom size is small, so we can get more out of it, and I can answer more of your questions individually, and maybe perhaps at some point you'll come up on the panel and we can discuss stuff. In fact, maybe I'll have somebody else up here with me to um to help me discuss things like this with you. um yeah, I'll get some other people with some other ideas and on topic, and we can discuss it all together. I think that's a good idea. Yeah. How about you? You think that's a good idea? Let's say show of light bulbs. If you think that's a good idea, that we have like regular class 8 o'clock every Saturday. I think so. I think that's what I'm gonna do. Yeah. And then maybe you can impart this information to your friends and family, and they can impart this information to their friends and family, and at some point we will be able to de-internalize. Okay. And like I said, I'm not trying to change your mind, but I'm trying to make you critically think think about the words that you read, hear, write, say every day, and how they change when discussed in a racialized America. And that's something, all of these words that we hear every day, every day, every day, and we just take them for granted. And you can go back and say, guess what? You know what? All this time I've been saying minority, not even thinking of what that really meant. Because my head would say numbers, but I wasn't even thinking about the definition of what minor means. And just by adding that three character suffix at the end, it changed the whole thing. Poultry and that's the part that cracked me up. Inconsequential. What was, wait, before I go, I just gotta say, because that thing tickled me. I mean, it tickled me, but it pisses me off at the same time. Where was it? Hold on. Poultry and petty. Wait, let me find that daggone page. Shoot. I done got it all mixed up now. Hold on. 6, 7. Okay, here we go. Yeah. Slight, small, unimportant, insignificant. All this time we've been calling ourselves, I mean, just calling ourselves slight, small, unimportant, insignificant, inconsequential, inconsiderable, of little account. They knew that shit. Okay? Sorry I cussed. But they knew that shit. They knew it. Of little account, peripheral, subsidiary, negligible, trivial, trifling, paltry, and petty. That's what minor means. And when you add an ITY at the end, you just turned it into a person who is the same thing. Ain't nothing numerical in that except less than. And that's bad. And the majority is crucial, vital, great, considerable, paramount, utmost, prime, extensive, important, serious, and significant. Add an ITY on that, and you talking about people who are just that, and who is majority rule. People who, okay, majority rule are people who are crucial, vital, great, considerable, paramount, utmost, prime, extensive, important, serious, or significant. Tell me, tell me. I bet you ain't gonna call yourself no minority again. I don't. Not at all. There's no reason for that to enter my uh vocabulary. Mm-mm. Because I am not poultry and petty. Oh Lord. And by giving ourselves, allowing ourselves to be called that, we are allowing ourselves to be that. Because the ITY gives it a state of being something. Like we learned about suffixes in school, but I didn't, I paid attention. What the hell? Okay, this is the suffix, that's the prefix, this comes before, this comes after. And it changes the word, right? Yeah, it changes the word. Well, you know what, Ray? We can talk about that too. We can have a discussion about superiority, what it means, and how it's applied. You know, because superiority really comes from it's white. Okay, what they do to themselves is they use merit to determine superiority among themselves. And I call it the myth of the meritocracy. Achievement. That's what they do to themselves. And then you know we and it comes from it comes from capitalism has a part in superior versus inferior. um and which is what fosters competition to be better than. That's all part of the capitalist structure. um it gets real deep. It gets real deep. You know what I mean? It does. But we'll get into that too. We'll get into that too. But anyway, it is now what time? It is 11 o'clock. What better way to end it? Because it is 11. I'm going to say good night to you all. Thank you so much for coming to class. Our next class will be next Saturday at 8, where we will talk about colorism, why we internalize and what we internalize. And I hope to see you all here. I really hope to see you all here. I really enjoyed having you here. Good night, and the doctor is out.